Good evening, everyone. I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. But it's all tricks aside because tonight we're turning the paranormal into the normal. Join me as we explore the gray areas of reality. We're going to talk all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, and aliens, and see how it's all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencer Support Association, and we are live. So if you're an experiencer yourself, or you're just plain nosy, be sure to send me your question and subscribe to the podcast. Now, get ready, because it's going to get deep. No, really, we're going to go way out there, because this is Beyond the TinFoil Hat. Welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, and I'm your host, comedian, magician, Danny Whitson. I hope my paranormal junkies have had a fantastic week because we got a great show for you tonight. But first, I want to make some quick announcements. I'm excited to announce that we have a new Patreon account. For all the followers who would like to support the Patreon account, you get to meet or talk with Ryan Stacy one-on-one, and all proceeds go to Tessa, the podcast, and the work. So be sure to subscribe to the Patreon account, support us. We need your support. And in return, you get to talk with Ryan one-on-one with any of these special topics you would love to talk to him about. Also, there's 3 new articles in the works that you can check out on the website or even the Facebook page. It's the update on the Canada Sky story. And then also a survey, a Canadian UFO survey you can check out. And then more on the MUFON hack. So be sure to check out those 3 articles Ryan's been working on. I'm sure they're very, very interesting. Now, talk about interesting. Tonight's guest. Tonight's guest is an expert at aligning your life's past to the highest potentials. Her unique vibrational frequency and presence can fundamentally change your life. Let's get a big welcome tonight for Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. How you doing, Kimberly?
I'm really well, thank you.
All right, I tell you what, I said a little bit about you there in the intro, but if you don't mind, will you let the listeners and tonight, hear a little more about yourself?
Yeah, it's kind of a wandering story. Basically, born with high-level remote viewing and psychic abilities. Grew up in a religious family, shut them down, went away to school in Chicago for college, decided to kind of be a little bit more myself, became so much more myself, attracted the attention of the local police, who then asked me to work as a psychic medium in their it was in the 80s and 90s when they were just starting the occult crime units. I don't even know if they still have those anymore, but they were experimenting with them back then. Thought it was very, very glamorous at the ripe old age of 20 to be very underpaid and very traumatized. I don't think any pay is worth the trauma that you encounter, working on cases like that. Kind of came out of that, became a little bit normal, got married, had kids, couldn't stay out of the, am I freezing? I'm going to keep talking, hoping you can hear me. Couldn't stay out of the paranormal, started doing house clearings. I did my first exorcism old school. Now I don't do them old school because I know we're all possessed, which is a whole nother topic. Did a lot of exorcisms from the age of 20 on, worked with a lot of paranormal groups. I was at one time Shane Pittman's of the Holzer Files medium for his paranormal group before he was famous. Thanks, Shane, for not taking me with you, by the way. And I'm just kidding. But so I worked with a lot of, big name groups and big name people, but under the radar, because what you guys don't understand is if you've never been on a paranormal investigation, which I'm sure you have, but they're super, super boring. They're super tiring. Now, I'm not saying they're all boring, but you can go hours and hours and hours and hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
hours with nothing happening. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I actually make a joke about this in my show because I'm a comedian, and I always say this. I say paranormal investigating. It's like, and I don't mean this. This is before I became a true believer. So guys, forgive me, but this joke, I still say it. I say it's like going fishing if fish weren't real, but I mean, you just, I know you paranormal folks aren't going to like that, but here's it. I do believe in ghosts now. I'm a believer. This is when I was more of a skeptic, but no, sometimes it's like that though. It is like going fishing. You just kind of sit there.
That's a great comparison. And when I went fishing, and my ex-fiance, I mean, I would bring like a book and all sorts of things to entertain myself. And really, that's about the same thing on a paranormal investigation.
When you catch one, when you catch that big one, it's so worth it. So, but no, you're absolutely correct. But the cool thing with you, Kimberly, though, I want to say, because boom, right out the bat, girl, you came out here and you gave us a lot of good stuff. Boom, your astral projection is what you were saying, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I did. Yeah. I wasn't with the groups, by the way. So I worked as a psychic medium. I went to, they would tell me where they were investigating. I would go there, walk around, tell them where to put their cameras, tell them. I remember I was taking a bath one night. I was on the phone with Shane, as a matter of fact. And he's like, "Are there any spirits where we are?" He was there and I was in my bath. And I said, "Hold on a minute." I said, "There's a really tall man and his name's Sam. And you're going to find him wandering around." And they did. And so it saves them a lot of time. They get names, they get descriptions, they get stories that they might not know, and they get where to set up their equipment. And they get better stuff, so that's the kind of stuff I did for them. And I did that, I still occasionally do that. I do get called in. I'm not going to be all like, the other psychics. I do get called in occasionally on crimes. My last crime was they didn't know where a woman was missing and a guy was missing in Ohio. They didn't know where they were. And I got a hold of her, and she told me she was dead. And she said, "Look in the water." And they hadn't been looking in the water. So they drove right to the nearest body of lake, and they found her and her boyfriend who had driven the truck into the water. So I do occasionally help out with things. I also work on cold cases because the technology I have and my abilities are, we can tell when people are lying. We can run facts, off of the truth, because the truth is a frequency. And so I don't do a lot of that work. And I usually, honestly, guys, that's low paid. If they're going to pay you, you're not going to get rich doing that. So don't let anyone fool you. So I usually do that for free as a service to people, who are paying and want to know what happened to their loved ones. So that's not something I advertise or charge for, but I do some of that still. But I became a naturopathic doctor. So of course I got big into herbalism, into supplements, into applied kinesiology, body work, energy healing, all of that. That led me to technology. And now I really, really have worked for the last 30 years, but really the last 10 years, really, really hardcore in frequency. Just, I had 2 apps at one time, frequency apps at one time. Another lie, you're not going to get rich doing apps either. Don't think that. The app movement has come and long gone. I thought I was going to get rich doing apps now, but
let me ask you this, Kimberly, because this is a lot of times that I know this is where I have interest when I hear, people with kind of like with your talents. When did you know? At what age? And when did? Because even at a young age, I'm sure if you did know something, you're like, "What the hell's going on? How do I use this?" So how old were you whenever you realized that you had this talent, so you were able to do these things?
Right. I hope you can still hear me, because
I can hear you now. We are getting a little bit of free screen, but
yeah, I thought so. Okay, yeah. And when I come on these shows, or almost every show, all of a sudden the internet that was working perfectly, I start to get a lot of interference, depending. Sometimes people even come in EVPs while I'm talking. So we'll see. It could be an interesting night.
Oh, nice.
But when did I know? I mean, I didn't know. I was aware I had weird abilities when I was 2 and 3 years old, and even 4 and 5, more and more. But I didn't know that. Here's what people don't understand. I didn't know that everybody didn't have them. So I knew I had the abilities, but I thought everyone functioned. How would I know people didn't function like I did? So I thought everybody functioned like I did till my brother was born. And when he's able to talk, he's like, I don't see ghosts. I don't see monsters. I don't see portals opening. Like, yeah. So then I'm like, oh, okay. And then you go to school and you learn to be quiet, you know?
So when did you start sharing this? When did you when did you get brave enough to say, hey, I kind of see things other people don't see. So when did you get to go?
I mean, I shut it down from like, school age, 6, 7 to 18. I didn't share it. I only shared it when I left home, went to a different city, and I'm like, maybe I could market this a little, for popularity. And I did. People want to know if their boyfriend's going to ask them to marry them. People want to know if they're going to pass a test or get a job or, and I was really, really accurate. And so that's when I'm like, oh, there's a cool side to this,
Now, like I've always, because I think this is, actually, I just heard this today. So it's, I can't quote the exact person who said this, but he talked about like people who have had some type of trauma or something that's happened that also sometimes can trigger psychic abilities. So would you agree with that? Is not saying, not trying to go too deep in the area of that, but it's almost like people with near-death experiences sometimes will have these abilities to do what you do.
I have a totally different theory, though, of why. So you guys are like looking at the trauma, which I would say is the effect. I believe the cause is a walk in, walk out.
Okay. That's interesting.
And I'm not saying 100% of the time because nothing's 100% of the time. But one thing I found, in the last 10 years researching in people's fields and running thousands of different people every year is what I even used to think about reality and consider myself an expert about. I have had to change my opinion based on evidence, based on how many people I see that show evidence of a walk in, walk out. Not only that, but also what we teach and think and have read about possession, I now believe is 95%. I hate to use the word wrong because it's so polarized, but let's say not true, which is the same thing. I don't think we understand. And even every day that I think I understand this reality, I see new evidence to show me I still have new things to learn about this reality. So we're always learning, we're always growing. But I think we all need to let completely go of some of the old paradigms because I think they are chaining us down as a collective and holding us back. If you don't understand where you are and who you are, and then you don't understand how we fit, how we got here, what this is, how we fit into all time, all space, how do we get what we want as a society or as an individual or as a family or, as anything? We don't. We're just all wandering around and around in these same really small circles, using as evidence the same text by the same people quoting the same names, and the names that you guys all quote, I'm not saying you guys generically, Tesla. If I hear Tesla one more time, might have to have assisted suicide. Like, that's such BS. The things that are attributed to Tesla existed millions of years before Tesla. Albert Einstein is a total, we now know, we've heard the, accusations, that he might have been a woman. I don't really care if you're a man or woman. That doesn't have any bearing.
Hold up. Wait a minute. Wait.
You haven't. Yeah. Research.
Might have been a woman.
Yes. You need to research that. It's fascinating. And I'm kind of swaying toward that side after I looked at the evidence. But it doesn't matter, really.
No, it doesn't matter. I think that's interesting. Wow. Einstein may have been a woman. So
yeah, but even the minds and the contribution, a lot of it is false history. It's the narrative. It's the script that they want you to believe. Science is a religion. There's no such thing as science, and part
science
of it I know from.
It's supposed to be a method. So science is supposed to be.
I like that word better.
It's supposed to be a method. Well, the scientific method, but this is the problem. This is the problem with a lot of scientists is that, and here's the thing. Scientists are humans, so humans tend to do this. They tend to get narrow, and they aim their at one target, and they the problem is science is supposed to be open. Okay, it's supposed to be open, but unfortunately, in today's age, it's not. It's you can use the scientific method to test paranormal. You can use it to test all these things. That's the beautiful thing about the scientific method. And in most cases, in my opinion, I think, the paranormal has been proven over and over and over again. It's just that somewhere around the lines there, I think there's a blur between what we consider to be rational and to be fantasy. And there's a it really goes like this, you know, it really meshes together. And just because, you know, you talked about reality, but really we don't know what reality is.
I agree.
And scientists, and when you look at any physicist, when you look at any scientist, it's just the best guess they have at the moment until they get a better guess. That's all it is. And they're using the scientific method to get that guess. The same way you do when you go on a paranormal investigation, or, you know. Right. So it's you know, so my hat is here, Kimberly, is like, you know, in other words, we don't know shit, but we're just trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? All of us. So, but
right. Now, and I say that too. I only know what I know, and it might change tomorrow.
Exactly. That's the beauty about having an open mind. And I mean, you know, if everyone had that with everything, you know, if everyone was willing to change as they learn, which we know in the world we live in, it doesn't happen.
No,
you know,
right.
But well, here's the thing that's so interesting about you, because you've said a lot of interesting stuff. I was, you know, a lot of things. I do have an open mind, but I also sometimes I'm a skeptic on certain things, you know. And one thing I love about you know, since meeting Ryan, you know, I met Ryan probably 3 or 4 years ago. He was a guest on my other podcast. I used to have a podcast called The Abracadam. I used to, and no longer have it. But Ryan came on, and Ryan opened my mind to, is all this connected? Is the you know, your UFOs, your ghosts, hell, even Bigfoot, even cryptids, everything is connected in a consciousness that we have. But here, before I go rambling on real quick, Kimberly, before I go too rambling, we do have a question from our very own Live Light that's here every week.
Oh, wow. Nice.
So we love questions from Liv. So here we go. She's got a question for you.
Okay.
Dr. McGeorge mentioned walk-ins. Can she expand on her theory on the soul? Do we all have souls? Are some entities just avatars in our reality without souls? Wow, this is a good one.
Yeah, it's a deep one. So I don't know if you have enough time for me to talk about my theory on souls. So we'll go to the second part, and we'll maybe get some of the first. But I have a book that I've written actually talking about the various type of, I call it fire creation. If you're an eternal soul, I have family that works in cloning and the transfer of human consciousness. So we know that not all bodies have souls, but what I'm learning more and more is that our body is just a container. It's a container. I can put water in here. I can put vodka in here. I can put whiskey in here. I can put orange juice in here. And I can, guess what? I can dump out the water and put orange juice. I can dump out the orange juice and put whiskey. And that is as permeable and easy as they access these avatars. So there's 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and up, 100th, whatever, dimensional beings, not just human discarnates, negative ETs, not even embodied beings, malevolent consciousness, what you guys might call demons, dark energies, created avatars like servitors. We can get really complicated. But all these things, elementals, can come in these containers or merge with these containers. Sometimes they kick us out. Sometimes we walk out, and sometimes we stay in. There's also not all like my mom. I've looked at my mom year after year, month after month. I don't know. I mean, personally, I can kind of understand why nothing wants in her, but usually we don't see an empty avatar, because an empty container is high value real estate. There's lots of ETs that want to crash this, what I call a game, and they want to play. So they need to grab an avatar. And if they don't have an access to a cloning lab, which they may or may not, if they're elite, or depending on, you know, who they're connected to, one of the federations or councils or something, you know, they have to jump an avatar. And there's a lot of pods, pod projection. So there's a lot of beings in, I know this is going to stretch some of your guys, you know, concept of reality, but there's a lot of beings in all time, all space that have a lot of money, and they paid a lot of money to play this game. Because this is one of the most, there's other games, by the way, other game realms. This is a game realm. There's other game realms, but this is a really, really popular game in outer space right now. So what they do is they go in the pods, like you guys have seen in science fiction, they project consciousness into a body. But if that person dies, they're safe in their cozy little pod on their ship. That's their real body. So then their body becomes what we call a one and done. You will never see that person goes back to the pod. That's not an eternal being that's going to be trapped in the game. Most of us are trapped in the game because we run under the frequency of the Van Allen belts, which is the technology that holds us here and causes the incarnation and memory wiping cycle that we are more than a one life created by God being. That's not really the true story at all. So I have the ability with my own abilities, as well as with the technology, I can tell you what's in you, who's in you, how many are in you. I can tell you your star lineage, if you're a star seed, I can tell you what race, how many races. I can tell you dark, light, in between. I can tell you if you're walking in, walking out. A lot of times we see these dying out souls. We can tell even if you're getting ready to walk out. So there's a lot going on again that most people don't teach. They teach tiny little fragments of, but I think you hit the nail on the head, Danny, when you said it's like a puzzle. And I think we need to start putting the pieces in the same puzzle instead of starting our own puzzles. We need to have a consortium with people that think like you and I do, that are open. If you bring me evidence, I'm going to change my mind. If I bring you evidence, I would hope you would consider to maybe change your mind. And I wish we could get this bridge where we can start working together and sharing our research and sharing our pictures and our audio and our thoughts, and we can help humanity progress and all get on the same page. Sorry, that was a side rant.
No, absolutely. I think that's, and which so are you saying like we're in a simulation? When you talk about the game, is that kind of, because that's a very debated, that's a very debated theory right now. Very popular.
It's a debated theory until you're standing in your house and all the walls dissolve and am I allowed to swear?
Absolutely.
You freak the fuck out. You talk about freaking out.
Sometimes there's no other word that you can use whenever the walls begin to dissolve. So
I don't even know what word I was going to use, but I know you probably think there's more terrifying things to happen, but honestly, I've had some scary things happen in my life, and I faced down some scary things and still probably will face down some scary things. That is one of the most terrifying things that ever happened. You talk about your reality crumbling. When the walls of your house dissolve and you're standing there solid in your body and you think it's daytime and you think you're awake, there's a problem. That something isn't as we've been told. Thankfully, whatever consciousness I went to where, I became higher than the frequency of my house so that I was kind of out of this simulation for a minute, lowered it and the walls slammed back in. But that's happened 2 or 3 times. And it's every time it happens, I still get terrified because it's like, you feel like you just don't even know what to do.
Now, did you reach this through like a meditation state?
No, I'm not even going to, let's just put it this. Okay. I'll tell you what room I was in. I was in the bathroom doing normal things.
Granted, I've been in the bathroom and the walls have crumbled too, but I think that was something completely different. But go ahead.
No, that was the first time it happened was, my bathroom wall. And that was even worse because I'm like, can these people see me? Because I'm like, neighbors and stuff. I'm like, wait, what's going, it was
really?
Horrible. The whole thing was just horrible. So that's one of my, and again, when this is an experiencer, I mean, that's the name of this group.
Absolutely. I'm an experiencer. Absolutely.
When you have an experience, it doesn't matter. You could never convince me ever, Danny, that my walls did it. Do you know what I mean? Because
I know. I 100%. 100%.
My experience. And so enough things like that. I'll tell you another thing. I tell people an experiment they can do. Even though I don't like the word science, I'm very experience oriented. I want to show you how maybe some of what I believe could possibly be true with facts. So I tell people, so one of the things I'm big on is you guys are being drugged. You guys are being shot up by agencies, and I mean, not Men in Black. I mean, physical agencies that work at desks, teams, CIA, whatever, Homeland, that work in your neighborhoods. They're coming in, they're taking you, they're shooting you guys up. They're doing different things with drugs and the secret space program. And people are like, that's so crazy. Okay, is it? Is it? I'll bring you to the table. Let's go to the table and do an experiment. And so I tell people to go on Amazon and go to their friends who work in labs and get the biggest drug panel pea cup that they can. And I said, first thing, you promise me for 7 days, you get up, you hit the bathroom, and you pee in that cup, you're going to be calling me freaking out, and we're going to be starting to have real conversations, because I reverse engineer things. I discover these things myself. So I feel drugged. I feel drugged. I feel drugged. Screw it. Why do I feel drugged when I wake up in the morning? I'm going to get a pee cup. That's logical to me. You feel drugged. You try to prove it, or you go have your blood drawn. You say, I feel like someone drugged me. I mean, again, that's not experience. You can see the Molly, you can see the cocaine, you can see the LSD on my pee cup, and a lab will say, yeah, that's true. It might not be pure setting, but I mean, it's pure enough that that's not going to give you that many false positives 7 days in a row. And so I'm not on any of those drugs. I don't believe all my food is drugged with that. And then you wake up, I have a needle mark I found yesterday. You can't see it, but it's right here. And it's on my arm in the middle of my forearm. And it's clear as day. If you know what a needle mark looks like, it's a needle mark. I didn't stick myself with a needle. I haven't been to the doctor. So how do you explain some of these? There's something going on here, Danny, that most people aren't talking about, can't prove, or don't know.
Wow, that's definitely, I have not heard that theory yet, but that's definitely interesting. Do you so like on the simulation side, like how you talked about how like it's almost like a game. So so is there a higher being playing this game? Who do you think is playing this game?
No, I mean, I don't know. I think we are the higher beings, but I'm not going to go into my theory really of how we got into the game. But there's a lot of Star Trek. If you've ever watched Star Trek, there's a lot of Star Trek episodes, especially the series, maybe I guess the movies too, but I know for sure the series, where they go on a holodeck and they go into a holographic world, and that world, as you're watching, they go into that world and they're, getting shot at. They're shooting each other. They're seeing dinosaurs or creatures or fighting aliens or meeting other races. That's real. They're doing it on these holograms, and, they're interacting real. And that's what I believe. Actually, I have pictures, which I just showed my group a couple of the pictures. I teach a monthly group. But I always say I'm saving my best evidence, because someday I'm going to be asked to speak at Contact in the Desert. Then I'm going to show you guys even though half the people there know exactly what I'm telling you, they just don't talk about it. But I'm going to show you my pictures of what we're on. I have pictures of the ship that we're on. I have pictures. So
we're on a ship. This is kind of what's taking. I mean, I just thinking out loud, there's times I've even thought about, what if Earth is a ship, or what if, the moon, you've heard the theories about the moon is not really a moon.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. I'll get to that in a minute.
Go ahead.
You know what the ship is called? You know what's on the side of the ship? URTH. That's the name of the ship.
URTH.
Earth. URTH.
Oh. There we go. Yeah.
Earth. It's the Earth ship. And the moon. Okay. I am promising you, I thought this. When I was 3 years old, one night I looked up at the moon and I'm like, that looks fake as fuck. Of course, I didn't know the word fuck, because I probably would have said it more back then if I knew it. But it really is. Like, if that doesn't look like, because it's a hologram. And I'm talking about the stereotypical beautiful, do you know what I mean? With the divots in it and the little star thing, the tan hologram that they put up, this full moon one, not the wolf moon or the strawberry moon or all that distorted, color stuff, blue moon. But all of it's hologram, because the moon, they've already shown us what the moon is. The moon is an old base. It looks exactly like the Death Star, and it's an active base. And guess what? If you take your little eyes or your telescope or your binoculars out on a day, are they going to completely kick me off now? Maybe, probably.
No, not at all. Keep going.
I can't see Danny, so I don't know if you guys can still hear me. So
yeah. I'm here. We can hear you. We can hear you and see you here, Kimberly.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, they tend to do this when I get into this stuff for sure. But
and this is called Beyond the TinFoil Hat. So keep in mind, we go out there. So we're going out there. So don't worry.
But if you look at the moon with your naked eye, and up to the left side, you can see some of the structures on the moon.
Well, I've heard people say that, and there's so much. One thing I do want to point out that's interesting about our moon, and if people who don't know this is what's really interesting about our moon. It is ginormous, and the people don't understand. When you look at other planets' moons, their moons are much, much smaller compared to the size of the planet. Our moon is too big to be a moon, with the, considering the size of our planet.
Right.
The other moons that orbit these other planets in our solar system do not affect the tides and have an effect like our moon has a major effect on our planet. So there's a lot of, it's almost like, was this thing put here intentionally by another intelligence, or, there's more. And even, I don't know, like if you look at the theory to how the moon, through science, how the moon came about is like two planets hit each other and a piece of Earth broke off, and that's how we got the moon. I mean, that's really, and things just kind of, I think that's kind of a stretch, to be honest with you. So, but I don't know. I always found our moon very interesting based on just little odd facts like that. So
you can also see, although I see it better against the sun than I do the moon. This is just me.
And that's the other thing where it lines up perfect too. You talk about that when we have our full eclipse. I mean, how odd is that? That it's the perfect size at the perfect distance to be able to have a 100%. So many things are odd when you start talking about the moon. You can get deep on that topic.
You can also see the ships flying off and on the moon, but I can see
them.
And
I've seen those videos. Yeah,
and I can see them easier flying on and off through the sun gate because it's a sun simulator. How I know the sun is a sun simulator is with my naked eyes, because I have dimensional vision. I can see the bulbs, and I can tell you when they blow, and I can go to the Seshi cameras, and I can tell by looking at their cameras when a bulb is blown. And you'll know when a bulb is blown because the light will change. The light will look wrong. It'll be like a dim, dusty light for days and days and days and days until they change the bulbs. So some things, again, I can see the bulbs with my eyes. I know that's not an organic, thing of worship or whatever people do with the sun.
Well, let me ask you this, because like I said, you're really in touch. You're really in touch with your consciousness, and what are some, you said you've helped out into some like investigations, correct? With using your psychic abilities.
Quite a few.
Can you give us a story about one? I would love to hear one.
There's what is it even called? I don't even know what it's called. I think it's called The Gift of Sight. It's out on Amazon right now. That Stacey Brown filmed with C. Wayne Wilson and I don't know if you've ever had him on. You want to stretch your belief, have him on. He's so entertaining. You would love him. People love him. He's just a great entertainer, but a good friend of mine. But he's really into Bigfoot, and he taught me. He taught me, or showed me, that I could see Bigfoot and that I had a relationship with these creatures. And
it looks like we have lost you, Kimberly. Give us just a second here, guys. Looks like Kimberly got bumped off here, but we were having a little bit of connection issues with Kimberly, but let's see if we can't get her back on here real quick. Let's see here. I tell you what, if you guys keep in mind also, you guys watching, be sure to chime in with your questions, okay? Because, we've got plenty of time to take questions. We would love to hear your questions. And I'm sure Kimberly would love to answer them. But yeah, it looks like she did get bumped off here. So give her just a second, and I'm sure we're working to get her back on here ASAP. Let's see. Hold on one second. Apologize about that, guys. What's up, Werder? How you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in. We got Lisa. Lisa's back. Here we go. And Galactic Grape. If that's not the coolest name for tonight's episode, Galactic Grape. I think that's a super cool name. Oh, here she comes. She has appeared back. Ta-da-da! All right,
Yeah,
Kimberly.
they're like, no moon and sun stuff. We're gonna
no moon and sun stuff.
Yeah,
No.
that's what they didn't like. They don't care. I don't think they're going to care about this. You guys can let me out. I'm going to talk paranormal now. You don't have to kick me off. So
Well, no. It wasn't us. It wasn't us. Keep in mind. So, and I was getting ready to have to.
No, it wasn't. No, I mean
more pins. So here we go. I had to entertain them. But no, we're good. We're back. We got some questions. So we're going to get right into questions. But no, I want to get after this question. I want to get into the investigation. I want to hear that story. Okay. So let's get Galactic Grape. First of all, kudos to that name, Galactic Grape. There we go. I think that's the perfect name you could name your child one day. Galactic Grape. Here we go. So the sun is a simulator. Are all planets, galaxies, etc., just simulated? And if so, do they still affect us? Does astrology have actual meaning?
Well, that's a big one to unpack. So the sun and the moon both affect us. Well, the moon and the sun both have computers on them that run the matrix reality. So they both put off frequencies. So when there's a full moon, so people are like, charge your crystals in the full moon. No, dodo brain, no. When you charge your crystals in the full moon, you're getting the matrix AI computer program in your crystals. You want to bury your crystals in earth where there's organic sentient beings that can help cleanse them. Don't put it under AI and the program of this reality. That's what they want you to do. So don't even get me going in all the I have a whole thing I call the Mythbusters of consciousness where I go through, I could probably do 1,000 of them. But the moon does affect you because it's, we're frequency based. The moon is frequency based. When the moon is really full, I always, tell my kids and my friends and my clients, I'm like, just be really easy on yourself, baby yourself when the moon's full, because that's going to be under the matrix computer program. New moon is when you create. New moon is when you make investments and try new things. And because you have less influence of the programming of this, are they going to crash me?
We're here.
They don't like this either. With the programming of this reality is when there's no less influence, from the sun or moon. And like I said, the computers are there. So, that's where a lot of the programming is coming directly. I don't know where the third computer is. There's 3 computers that run this reality. One is on the moon. One is on the sun simulator. Oh, and if you go to the Secchi cameras, Danny, SECCHI, and you look at one of the suns, I think it's usually the neon green sun, you can see the ship wings sitting on top of the sun simulator that the computer's on in that ship that runs our reality. So again, do people ever point out that there's like actual pictures of this stuff? I'm like the only one that I ever hear, does this stuff. But anyway, back to the rest of that question was, what was the rest of it? It was about the sun simulator. And then what was the second part?
Let's see. And if so, how does it still affect us? Does astrology have an actual meaning?
So really, let's go all the way back out to the all. So everything's a simulation because everything's a created reality. A lot of us, we're eternal beings, we're zillions of years old. We've been galaxies. When I leave here, I could be a galaxy. I could create a galaxy. A lot of the new worlds that the Federation's trying to turn over, sounds like a Star Trek plot. It is. They're beings like it. We're fire creation beings. We can say, oh, I'm going to start a desert civilization. And I'm going to create beings, that look like this, half dinosaur, half man. And we're going to start this little civilization and we're going to wander around and be nomads in the desert. That's how civilizations start, you guys, whether they're here or whether they're in the galaxy. And then that's a whole nother story. So if you want to be technical, in my opinion, everything's a simulation. Anything that's ever exists is a simulation because the only thing that's, quote, real is the all. And everything else comes out of the all as a creative expression of whatever being or any aspect where all aspects of the all is creating. But no, there are, this is a game simulation. This is a hell realm game simulation. We're in a hell realm game. This is not an amazing place. It has good parts, but it's not the best place. It's really hard to be happy and succeed here. Let's be honest. It really is for most of us. And, and then when you factor spirituality and everything else in, it just gets crazy. But other places are different. Venus, here we go. The elites don't go underground to their bunkers. Do you honestly think A trillionaire is going to go underground and hang out there and be happy? No.
When you say
They go
trillionaire,
through
are you referring to somebody we all know here on Earth, or is this
all of them.
somebody else?
Name one, and they all go here. What I'm going to say next, they all go here. No, they go through one of the jump gates that they have access to, and they go to Venus. Venus is where the, I don't want to say certain names. I don't know how, whatever, but where the E people, E island people, that's where they go. That's where they go. You think they're killed? No, they go there. You think they die? No, they go there. Sometimes they're transferred into a younger body or clone body, and they keep living, or then they recycle them back here. So everything we know about reality, it to me is laughable, but we're inching closer to it being more found out and more accepted,
Well,
by the
let's do this. We've got one more question here, and then we got to cut to a commercial break. But let's see if we can't get this one in real quick by Live Live. If our reality is a fake simulation and we're in a game, what is our purpose as individuals and as humanity? Why are we here?
Well, it's individual. So I also have like 999 other aspects of myself right now, in other places, other realms, other timelines, other worlds, other bodies, other avatars, other consciousnesses doing multiple things. And so do you guys. Some people have one, and some people have, thousands. And so it's experience. So if you are a zillion, like I am, I'm first wave out of the all. Like I've done it all. I've been everything that you could even think of. I've lived it all. I've done it all. So they're like, hey, we created this really cool game. And it's really challenging because you're all wise, all powerful, superhuman, best of the best at everything, da 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 da. But guess what? Can you win this game? Because we memory wipe you, girl. We memory wipe. And me, what I know I said, oh, I'm so smart, so intelligent, so old, so powerful. Bring it on. I've played other realm games. So have you guys. Some of us came here to play the game. Different ones of us are here for different reasons. It's not what the Dolores canons say. It's not one thing. We're individual. We're here to be individuals and be fully individual in our experience as this aspect of consciousness that we're choosing to be. So I got trapped here. I came here to play a game, like I just told you, playing the game, Earth Hell Realm game. But guess what? I got caught up in a war that was part of the game between the Draco Reptilians and the Galactic Federation. And as Stephen King tells us, right, in his little series book called Under the Dome, I got caught in the dome. I opened up a portal. I got a bunch of people out, my people, which I'm not going to go into who and they caught me. I was one of the last people caught before I could close the portal, like we see on Charmed, like we see on all these TV shows, Stargate, and get out the other side. I was trapped here. Maybe you came here to wake up the humans so they know how to go ahead.
What you're saying, Kimberly, is like each individual has their own purpose for being here. So we're not all here for the same reason. But I tell you what, guys, what we're going to do, we're going to be back right after these messages. We're going to talk to Kimberly about Bigfoot, exorcism, and some of the investigations that she's went on using her psychic abilities. Hang around. We'll be right back. Check out these messages. See you soon.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
It's your business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
All right, welcome back to Beyond the TinFoil Hat, and we are here with Dr. Kimberly McGeorge. Kimberly, I tell you what, fascinating conversations so far, some really way out there topics, which I'm loving it, and I know our viewers are loving it as well. One thing, though, I do want to touch base on, you had started to talk about on one of the investigations that you had helped with. And if you don't mind, do you care to, tell us one of those stories? I would love to hear it. Oh, wait a minute, Kimberly, you're muted. I think see if your mute button's on. Here, give me just a second here, guys.
Uh-oh.
There we go. We can hear you. Say something.
All right. I muted myself. So
there we go.
So one of the last investigations I went on is actually, like I said, in a documented in a movie you can find on what's it called? Amazon Prime. But anyway, we went to Charlottesville, Virginia, and they didn't tell me anything about this house. This was like a cold investigation. They're like, let's just see what happens, what you can pick up. And so as I approached the front door of this house, I started feeling really sick, which is my body signal for extremely evil, just evil from the pit of hell evil. And I started gagging like I was going to throw up. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I say this out loud. I'm being filmed. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, somebody was killed and like raped here, and there was like demonic energy and people were possessed and they were dragged out one of the back windows. And I just like went into the scene, and it ended up being completely true, the whole thing. And it was really cool to have my abilities like documented, even though it wasn't the most flattering. Me, like my daughters are like, why didn't you let them film you throwing up? I'm like, I didn't know I was going to throw up. Like, it was very raw. Like, here's a medium. Let's see if she can really, kind of like prove, so it was really cool. Then we tried to, I think we tried to do a seance and connect with some of the spirits, and we ran a voice box, and we got some really good EVPs, but that was I don't get creeped out very much anymore. I've seen it all, done it all, but that was a really hard place to be around and in, and it was next to a Civil War battlefield. And here's what's interesting, and another fallacy to me of the paranormal world. We walked that battlefield for 3 or 4 hours, not one hit, not one apparition, not one movie loop playing. It was completely clean. Like, it was clean, no creep factor, but and that's to say, just because something bad happened doesn't mean you're gonna get activity, although you're gonna tend to get better activity. If I had to pick, if they said, we'll give you $1 million, you can spend the night at this graveyard, you can spend a night in this haunted house, or you can spend the night at this like haunted lake, I'd be like, graveyard.
What was the name of the movie? What was the name of the film that
I think it's called, this is so dumb, I think it's called, I don't know. Oh no, that was the first one. What is it called? Hold on, I'll tell you in a minute. I have to look it up. I don't know. I haven't even watched it. My daughter's like, have you watched it? I'm like, no. It's hard watching.
Are you in the film, or is it?
Yeah, it's about my friend Bill, C. Wilson, the guy, Bigfoot guy, and me, and we go on Bigfoot cryptid, we go on paranormal investigations, we go on this haunted bridge investigation. So we go on numerous investigations in this movie, and they're filmed through the whole thing. I'll tell you what it is in a minute. Hold on. It is called, maybe my internet, as we know, is being Gift of Sight. Thank you. I don't even know the name
of Sight on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah. Gift of Sight. Cool deal. Definitely. Well, you guys definitely check that out. I'm going to check it out now. Gift of Sight. So this was like a paranormal investigation. Now, you had mentioned something about, did you ever help any like police, missing people, anything like that? Any stories there?
Yeah, I have a lot of stories. They were mainly, like I said, occult crimes. Them asking, they had leads, they would give you a case file, and they had so much information, and then they wanted to know where can we bodies type of things. And again, I'm really good at land energies, and I'm really good. I can't explain how it works. Like, that's how I see and get a lot of the Class A photography that I get. I get it by like bouncing a frequency, like the being or the creature or the body or whatever. It like pings me, and I just know where to look, where to point the camera, where to tell somebody to go. And so most of it was, dig here, go down this road, turn left, turn right. Or this is hard. I would see a whole scene, and I would have to describe it, and they would say, go further out. So I'd be like, there's a big oak tree, and there's like a white house with a red roof, and they'd be like, pull further out. And then I would go further out and be like, okay, there's a clearing to the right, and there's a garage that's falling down to the left, and they'd go further out. And eventually I would give them a marker, like a highway, and then we could trace back in. So see, this is what I mean, you guys. It's not like medium. It's not like super glamorous where you talk to serial killers in the jail or anything, which I don't think I'd want to do anyway. It was really practical, narrowing down, and then they would dig, and I wouldn't always be there. Sometimes I would, but a lot of times, again, it's remote. But I mean, they found animal bones in occult sites. They found, I hate to say, human bones in some pretty big, this is, Satan worship. And let's be honest, some of that stuff happens. And so there were some grisly things I was witness to, but it's not glamorous. It's really disgusting.
So let me ask you this, is because I could only imagine, like, personally, I could never be a cop. I couldn't be a surgeon. I couldn't be anything, because I think it would give me like, post-traumatic stress of some sort. You know what I mean? I wouldn't want to see these things. And somebody, the same thing as like, who's using, their psychic abilities to investigate crime scenes and stuff. I could imagine that would be horrible, to see some of the things that you may see, Now, whenever you had these, is it like it's instead of like an ongoing stream video, is it kind of like photos? You get a picture here, a picture there.
I'm very controlled in my remote viewing. If I were to look at somebody's past lives or timelines or all time, all space lives, then it's hard because it appears as thousands of movie screens. And then I pick a movie to watch. I zero in on, oh, you want, the past life in Earth? Okay, I'll zero in. And then I pull it out. And it's like little tiny screens. I can't explain it. And then I pull them out and watch them. Or I immerse myself in them, kind of become a character in them. I can view them from the inside out or outside in, if that makes sense. Okay. It's hard to explain because I've done it since I was young. And since I was 3, I'm used to seeing gory things because when I was 3, I would remote view the police runs, the fire runs, and the ambulance runs, and I couldn't stop it. Now I have control, but then they would just when I heard the sirens, they would just take me to these runs, and you see some really grisly things that I still can't shake from back then, but you get a little numb to it too.
Let's talk about this because I think this is interesting. When we talked about like how our human body is just kind of like a glass, and there's empty and there's people full of things. Those the people in this world, because we do know, good and evil are very real things, or maybe there's just, and I don't mean this in a depressing, dark way, but maybe good doesn't exist. Maybe good is just normal, and then there's evil. Do you get what I mean? But what makes people evil? What are they full of? What is their shell consumed of? Are they possessed? Are they?
So let me take you into a different perspective for a second. So you go to Walmart and you buy Call of Duty 27 or whatever we're on, and you plug it in and you start shooting people and they start shooting you, and whatever you do in Call of Duty, I don't even know, or any game like that. Are you going to say these people are so evil? I'm so evil because I'm in this game and I'm killing people and they're killing me? No, it's a game.
Yeah.
And I almost got kicked off Coast to Coast for saying this. Richard went to commercials. I've been to Coast to Coast 3 times, and I love Richard, but he's very religious and I'm very not religious. So we have a little clash there. But he kicked me off because I went into this with him because he got really offended because I said, pull way back in all time, all space, right now, my full consciousness, this personality, this being is in other places and other times, playing other games, living other lives, being a man, being a woman, being an ET, being a horse, who knows, and, we're all running at the same time. This me actually has the least moral responsibility because this me, I 100%, I will put my life on this and the life of my children, life of my dogs that we're in a game simulation. That's how much evidence I've accumulated. I am firmly in belief of it. So yes, in the game, it matters. When you're playing Call of Duty and you're talking to your friends, you're like, you got to get this guy and we want the points and set off the bomb. Like you're in it, like it matters. And you're like, oh crap, we're dead. He said, she said, whatever. It matters. Like you're in it. But when you leave, die, whatever you want to call it, get out of that perspective and you look back. If you want to be a serial killer, be a serial killer. This is a game. Now, I'm not saying there's not consequences because this is a mirrored reality system. So if you choose to be a good character, just like in a game, the character is going to make choices and have things happen because they're a good character. If you play a bad character, you're also going to you could reap lethal injection. You could reap someone killing you in revenge. I'm not saying there's not consequences. I'm not stupid. But I am also